Friends, you are in for a treat. We are about to talk to Ronyelle. Hello, Ronyelle. I am so excited to have this opportunity to have a conversation with you today. You are near and dear to my heart, and now I get to share you with others. So we're going to jump right in. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Nice to see you.
I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking. I don't get asked that question often. I'm always doing the asking, but I appreciate that. I'm actually having a wonderful day. Thank you. Now, we're going to get right into your story because we know that the mothers and allies who are watching, they want to learn about you and they want to learn about your journey. So, can you tell me and the viewers about your mothering journey, how it's been for you raising a child on the autism spectrum, and what are some of your more significant moments, and what are some of the challenges that you've experienced along the way?
So, my little one, who is not so little anymore, but his name is Randon. He is 13, just turned 13. And he was diagnosed at 4. That was a struggle. I knew in my heart that he was on the autism spectrum, but once you hear it, it, you know, you go through all of the emotions.
Mhm.
So I went through all of the emotions, and I did what I feel like is the typical reaction is searching Google for everything, because they kind of just give you, hey, this is the diagnosis. Good luck to you figuring out
Mm.
the rest of, you know, how to raise this child or what to do. So I went down the Google, rabbit hole, found some websites, and then I took a break and I said, I need to stop, because it was, not as much positivity that I wanted back in
Mm.
that time. And so I had to stop, kind of regroup, and then decide what was going to be the next step to parent him, get my mind wrapped around with how the journey was going to go. Um, and so then we kind of figured it out around 5 or 6. Um,
Okay.
he got started getting ABA therapy. Um, he was in daycare when I got diagnosed. When he got diagnosed, they really was very supportive. Then
Mm.
he went into public school. He's been in public school. And so we just kind of have ridden this roller coaster called uh, autism, being a mother to a child on the autism spectrum.
So let's go back a bit. You said that so essentially you found your rhythm about, 5, 6, and prior to that you had to pull away from Google because you felt like, you were going through that rabbit hole. So now but you said something that kind of pinged my ear. You said you always knew. So
Yes.
how did you know? What was speaking to you?
So I have a stepson who is on the autism spectrum, and I saw him get diagnosed, and I saw how he reacts to certain things, just who he is, and I saw those signs in Randon, and but I didn't want to believe it.
Right.
He Randon did not speak um, until he said very few words at 2.
Mhm.
Um, then he did the echolalia. Is that when he repeats? Yes. So he
Uh-huh.
did the repeating. And so when he got, I knew in my spirit that he had it.
Right.
Once at 3, he was not the typical 3-year old that I have
Right.
been around. And so, but everyone, he's fine. cousin Joe back in the day didn't talk, and so he go talk eventually. That's what you hear from family and friends.
Right.
I have my own separate thoughts about that, but so you think, okay, maybe I'm wrong, but um at 3 moving to 4, I knew no, something else. And then once he did the test, we were in the room and I was like, oh yeah, he got it. I I
Mhm.
I knew. But that did not stop. I cried and I cried and I cried for weeks. I was sad. I grieved because
Right.
it's not
Right.
the life that I wanted him to have.
Right.
So I just had to pull away from Google because it
Right.
just was not helping me. It was not making me feel better.
Right. So I'm gonna, before I ask another question, I'm gonna offer some clarification for families who may not know what echolalia is. So echolalia is repetitive speech. So for instance, with my son, he went through a phase of echolalia as well. And he used to say words like, I don't know where he got it from, but Arby's, because I didn't even eat Arby's, but he Arby's, 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 Arby's. And he would just repeat that word over and over again. And it was football. So it might be like football, 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 football. Or if you say a word
Yeah.
that really he really enjoys, he may say that word over and over again. So because of that, it was I didn't think he was nonverbal at first because he was saying words. And I then later learned that, echolalia it's not substances where there's no meaning behind it.
Mhm.
It's just the way the word sounds or whatever the word is doing for him. But when it comes to receptive and expressive language that's needed for conversation, that wasn't there. Hence, my child was nonverbal, even though I didn't realize it at the time because he says words, but he didn't say his words to communicate. Boom, bang, pow. Now,
Yes.
the other thing I want to talk to you about is something that you just said, and you're like, that's a whole nother subject, I've got a whole nother opinion. Let's talk about family and friends. So, how is it when you're going through your grieving period and now you need the support of family and friends, and everyone has their hypothesis of what it's going to be like or what's actually going on? How did you navigate that?
So at first, when I only told a select few, my parents, my husband's parents, that was it. Um, then I slowly started to tell other people. I'm a part of a youth group, and I started to tell them. And there was a lot of teachers that was also a part of that youth group. And I
Mhm.
know that people mean well. Also, my church, I know that people mean well when you say this. They say, no, that can't be right. Um, or, we go pray it away, or, he's gonna be fine, which yes, he is gonna be fine, but it requires work. It's not I'm just gonna lay back and everything just go magically work out. It requires work. It requires sacrifice um to be a parent with a child with special needs, period. So but a lot of people initially thought that they were doing the best that they thought they knew. They thought that was the right answer to kind of say that the diagnosis is incorrect when I
Right,
knew the diagnosis was correct.
right,
So that wasn't necessarily helping me.
right,
But my family, um, after that initial, like, oh, he'll be okay. And I'm like, yes, he will. But also, this is what he has. And these are some of his challenges. Then they just were like, okay, well, we just go treat him and meet him wherever his needs are. And really, my church really, supported him in meeting him where he was. He would have his tablet in church. It wasn't a like a shun thing, like
mhm,
your kid's not supposed to be in church with a device, but my church welcomed him. They still support him in his Special Olympics and whatever um that he does, and they support me and my family as well. They do the same thing. It's just, and my friends have really stepped up and just treat him how, I don't want to say treat him normal, but they meet him where he is.
Right.
And they give him the support that he needs. And
Right.
that has been great.
That is a blessing. I want to go back to when you said that sometimes people who are well intended, they'll say things like, oh, well, that's not correct, or that can't be so. I distinctly remember having very conflicting feelings when Ricky Two at first received his diagnosis. And at the time, he was taking dance class in Carmel, California. And the dance instructors and the directors there were very fond of him. And he had been going there since about 3 years old. So after his diagnosis, I felt the responsibility to tell all service providers that, Ricky Two is on the autism spectrum. Well, when I told the director at the dance studio that Ricky Two was on the autism spectrum, she said, he is not. He is just a happy baby. He's just full of energy. And part of me felt like, she loves my son. The other part of me was like, is there something wrong with having autism? So it was a very conflicting feeling. I was grateful that she held my son in such high regard, but at the same time, it was kind of gripping my chest that there would be people who care about him that I would tell this to, and they would think that to say something that is contrary to him is a compliment or a loving statement. And
Yes.
so that was I had to reflect on that one for a while. The other thing that I want to make mention of is that you are considerably blessed to have such an experience in the church. Because one of the things that we've not delved into as much as I think that we should, especially in the Black community, is church relations and
Mhm.
children with special needs. Even some of the vernacular that we use in large congregations or at gatherings that we have as Black people. Um, Things like a child calling out in church and everyone kind of looking at you to see, like, why don't you get this child to behave?
Mhm.
Sometimes the pastor will talk and say, for the ones of you that's slow, I'm gonna say it again. I'm like,
Mm.
that pings my ear. I was just at a conference and someone got up and I was following her point, and then all of a sudden she says, well, not short bus special. And I was like, ooh,
Oh.
I was like, okay. And it's just a part of everyday vernacular sometimes when people gather and they don't think about the stray bullets that come in the things that we say. Now, at this point, this is just a week or so ago, where I am in my journey, those words don't pierce me, but there was a time when they did. And I
Mhm.
couldn't help but think that there is a woman in this room who just caught a stray,
Mhm.
who just caught a stray. So one of the hopes that I have for this podcast is that people will see this and see it from our perspective of some of the things that people say. Like one time I was with someone I thought very dearly of, and I still think dearly of the person, but I'm very protective and I don't necessarily know that my son will ever be in close proximity to this individual because just in casual conversation at a wedding, they said, that's so R word.
Mhm.
And to me, that's like calling somebody the N word. So it's like
Mhm.
it was very offensive. But
Yes.
then I'm put in a situation where, like, do I make a thing of it now? We're at a wedding, we're celebrating someone, my child isn't here, but this person just said this egregiously offensive word, and they used it as a derogatory term to talk about someone else being, obtuse. And just like that, at a wedding, Ricky Two was much younger. I caught a stray bullet.
Mhm.
So those stray bullets hurt.
Yes, and sometimes I will check people. It
Mm,
really depends on the situation. So sometimes I will say, that's very inappropriate. And it doesn't have anything to do with me, it doesn't, it's just inappropriate, period, right?
Right.
Um, but I will say my church is a small church, and but they love, and they love hard no matter what. Randon is not the only person there that had a special needs,
Mhm.
and they don't care. They treat like children. You could be running up and down the hall, the aisle. Preachers preaching, choir is singing. It doesn't matter. If a child is running around, go on, let that baby run. The child is all of a sudden playing the piano during the service. They okay, we go keep on going. It doesn't matter. And I've been a part of this church since I was 4. I'm
Right.
44. So they have seen me, you know, through everything. And um but they're just welcoming to anybody. And I don't know if I could be a part of a church that was not like how my church is. I would have quickly removed myself, because I'm not going to be anywhere where me or my child is not fully welcome.
Right. Right. That is indeed a blessing, because that's one of that again, that's a conversation that needs to be had. Now, you have your support system at home, you have your support system at church. How are things going with the school system? So, how are you navigating the educational process? What are some things that are really working well for you? What are some areas where you see gaps or needs for improvement?
So I want to first start by saying um Randon went to a daycare.
Hmm.
So he was in, I work, my husband work. So daycare is the option. Um, so he was at a home daycare, but when he turned 19 months, he went to a facility daycare. And they supported my child from 19 months. He was there from 19 months until COVID. Because after school, I would have him take a bus back to that daycare, and then he would get therapy at that daycare, and then we would pick him up, after work. So really, until he turned like 10,
Hmm.
and I always would joke like he gonna be here forever. He gonna be an employee. Like COVID is what stopped him from going because school was virtual. So but they met him whether he was. They helped potty train him. They really poured into my child. My child was reading before he got to kindergarten. Like they really poured into him and supported him. My child is a very picky eater. They like, okay, you want pancakes every day? Okay. Randy gets pancakes every day. The other kids are eating something else because they can eat that, but Randy can't eat that. So pancakes is what he eats, waffles. This is what he's gonna get. And I think that support really helped me to get into the public school system.
Got it. So
So,
one of the things I appreciate there is that when you said that Randon loved waffles and pancakes while the other children may have eaten something else. And that goes to that whole stance of equity
yes.
versus equality. And so they understood that in order for it to be an equitable environment for Randon, his needs were different. So kudos to them on that. Boom,
Yes.
bang, pow.
They they love him. I mean, they still love him now. But so that really helped me for when I went into the public school system. So the in my area where I used to live, the system that tested him, the city that tested him, that particular school did not have a special needs program that they felt was appropriate. So we went to what's called developmental learning program, which takes five cities around the area, and they have a full program. They have 3 locations. Anyway, they really lay the daycare was like the first layer. They were the second layer in support. In okay, this is where he's at. This is where we're going to get him to. This is what we think he needs in the classroom. He has always been like one of 8. The most kids he's ever been in the classroom is 9, up until um, 5th grade. He's always been like one of 9. And so that helps him. So they really poured into him. They supported him. He taught himself how to write in cursive. And so when the kids for kindergarten was doing ABC tracing, the teacher made his cursive. So he was tracing in cursive because that's what he was into. And so they really did that with everything. He got speech, he got occupational therapy, um, and they just really helped him. And I did IEP meetings. They were very thorough. They were, comforting too. I really, to the point where when he was in 2nd grade, they wanted him to do 3rd grade. They felt like he was ready to move to a district and go into that special needs program, into the full public school. We end up moving, and so where we moved, that school where we are now, they have a bigger special ed program than where we were before. And so, um, funny story. When we decided to buy a house and move, we only picked the cities that was in the program, that was in the district. We were not looking nowhere else. We could only be in where he could still go to that program.
That is not a funny story. Those are words of wisdom. I will tell anyone that if you have a child who has needs that are beyond typical, you find the learning environment, then you find the place to live, because your child will spend 7+ hours a day in that environment with those service providers. So when you find something that fits, I honestly feel like the rest of the family kind of fits in, because you're really doing yourself a service when you do that. Some people may think of it as a sacrifice, but it really is a service to yourself, because if you get your child into a great area with great resources, what you may feel like is a sacrifice on the front end, you end up reaping the benefits from on the back end. So right now, I have a young man who has been exposed to some of the best that Fairfax County has to offer. And because of that, I'm experiencing now freedoms because of his independence. So yes, I commend you on that. And that's not funny. That's a nugget. Put it in your pocket now.
Yes.
That's a nugget.
Yes.
That's a nugget. That's
I
a
told
nugget.
my husband we can only move into one of these 5 cities because this is where this program is, and I'm not leaving this program.
Boom.
And so,
Yeah.
so in 2nd grade, they felt like he had really progressed and that he could go to the district. And so then I went and looked at the district. This is where, I believe in advocating for yourself and advocating for your child. We went and toured that facility. The program, the teacher wasn't, the main teacher wasn't there, but it was assistants. The social worker was there. I did not like her demeanor. I did not like her demeanor. I didn't like the classroom setup. I got bad feelings from the moment I stepped into that room to the other room. My spirit was not settled. And I said, he can't come here.
Boom.
I said, I cannot do it. And the social worker was really kind of being pushy about, well, he needs to come here. He's outgrown this other program. He needs to come here. I'm like, no, I will work another job and put him in private school. I will home day. Look, I have options. I'm not the parent that you're going to just tell something to and I just take it at that if this does not sit right with me. And it did not sit right with me. I told my husband, I said, he not coming here. So I went back to the development, the learning program, and I told them I cannot send them there. They are not as welcoming, as loving. Like you are, I know you all love my child. And I don't know if that is appropriate for our teachers, with the community or the program, but they love him and they support him. And I didn't feel any of that at the tour. And so, and then the program leader was like, okay, okay. I was almost to tears. I was like, I can't send my child there.
Right.
And she's like, okay, we're going to do one more year. We will give him more challenging work. We will adjust the curriculum for him for this year, and we will make it work.
Boom.
And I was like, thank you, God, because I didn't know what I was going to do, but I just knew he wasn't going there.
See, Ronyelle, you keep dropping nuggets, because that's another nugget, Mama. If it does not sit well in your spirit, don't do it, because that's your mama bear instinct. That's your mother's gut. You know what feels right for your child. And at the end of the day, when the metal meets the road, you are your child's voice until your child's voice fully forms. So you are never putting anyone out when you want the best for your child. And there's going to be someone there who will partner with you to make sure that your child gets what he or she needs. Good for you, Ronyelle. Yes, girl. Yes.
I was like so nervous, but I said, I'm gonna have to figure it out. And so he stayed in the program for his third year. And then COVID happened. And so after COVID happened, March of 2020, and so he went to virtual learning with them. And so then it came time for the next year. And I said, okay, let's see where we are. All those people were gone from the previous year to move to the same school, same program, but all the other people were gone.
Wow.
All the people that gave me, the social worker was gone. The teachers was not there. It was new people. So when I met them, even virtually, I was like, okay. I said, okay,
Okay.
okay. So, but his whole fourth grade year stayed virtual. He had the option to go in towards the end. Me being who I am, I said, you're not going to test this whole situation on me, because the teachers was getting COVID and they wanted to have the special needs kids come in first and, kind of figure it out. And I was like, I understand, but he don't need to be there. And so we doing good right here in this virtual situation. We go stay here when this this is safe. And so I had to fight for that, because because they wanted all
Wait,
the
children.
children.
Stop there. You had the what for that?
I'm sorry. That's fight, not the word. Now I'm lost. What's the word?
Advocate.
Advocate. That's right. Yes. Yes. I had to advocate for him not to go back in that school during 2021, because they were not ready. I didn't feel like they were ready. Because we kept hearing that they closed for this time, because people kept getting COVID. And I said, you're not going to test on my child this whole new system. And so they told me and the other parents that either you bring your child in, they wasn't going to do half and half. Either you bring your child in, and they were not going to offer any virtual services. And I informed them, if you don't offer virtual services, my child won't go here. Now, backstory, I understand how the financial system of the education work.
Boom, bang, pow.
So I said, my child won't go here. I'll homeschool him before I let him go in. What I also did was email all the other parents in the group in the classroom and told them, hey, what do you think about this? And they were all like, I don't want my child to go back, but they're saying we have no choice. I said, oh, we have choices. And let's just say there were several parents that gave that ultimatum. And then next thing you know, virtual was still happening.
Look at that. I wonder why that happened.
So, but the school has been great. I mean, I had to do some advocating, but he got, once fifth grade started and he went in, his teachers were great. He had to transition to middle school. Those teachers been great. Principal, the whole staff has really been good. He still gets speech therapy and he still gets social work, a little bit of social work. So they have been good. I um, am a parent that advocates for him. And so when things are not right, I speak up and say they're not right and they need to fix. When it's come to an IEP meeting, oh, we set this date. I don't know why you set that date, because you should have told me, asked me first and seen when I'm available. I have a job. You need to work with my schedule. So I have to continue to remind them that you need to work with my schedule and then we'll go from there.
Right.
So
Now, in your experience, what has been some of the most effective strategies that you've used with Randon to help his child development? And this is two-part. What are some of the strategies that you've been using to help with your development as a mom?
So I'll start with me first.
Okay.
I had to let go of how I thought I was going to be a mom. Because in my head, when I got pregnant, I was going to be this certain type of mom. I was going to be strict. I was going to be like, loving, but you're going to be doing this, this, and this. I'm taking from my experience of how I was raised. I feel like, I was raised well. So I'm pulling from that. I'm pulling from other parents that I see. And I'm thinking, this is it. This is how I'm going to be. All that went out the window.
I know.
That went out the window. I am nothing like I thought I was going to be as a mom. I could not be more different than what I thought I was going to be.
So, I understand that, because sometimes even when I'm talking to him, I'm like, where did you learn that from? Because you just follow their lead. Because if you're going to make it through this journey with them, because their personalities are really pretty set.
Yes.
So it's like you can spend your time fighting it, or you could just be like, what are we doing today?
Yes, you gotta just get on board, because they're not changing. So it doesn't matter. They are not changing.
And then they're so literal, so they're gonna ask you, but why?
But why? And I'm like, I grew up in the era, there's no questioning. There is no questioning. And my child questions everything and wants a full explanation. And because I said so, it's not an answer to him. That means nothing.
Absolutely nothing. They're so literal that you have to explain it. You know what? At least Randon and Ricky too are similar in that fashion. That
yes,
their brains are always thinking. So sometimes when we think about autism, their brains think differently. It's just the synapses, the complexity of thoughts. They may not make those connections readily. How we make so many contextual connections. So I find myself explaining everything to Ricky too. But the beauty of this season is I see all those things fusing together. So he's taking this little information. He's like, wait a minute, this is like this, and this is like this. And now he's making those own connections. But I did more talking as a mother than I ever thought I would do. It was no giving somebody the look and
oh yeah.
Oh, they're like, why are you looking at me like that? What's wrong with your head? Are you feeling okay, Mom?
Yeah. None of that. And the only thing I will say what used to work is for him is I'll just say, okay. And that okay was like, all right, let me, get it together. But that was literally all I had. That's the only thing that semi worked.
1, 2, 3. That's all I could do. So other than that, I was just like,
I couldn't even get to. We tried like the deep breathing. Let's count to 10, and that will work at some point, but when he's very, very upset, that all those coping strategies that he learned goes right out the window when he's very upset. But
So what do you do in those moments when those episodes happen? How do you
so
navigate?
I I'm doing well now. They don't happen as often.
Mhm.
So actually, I can't tell you the last time. Maybe like last year.
Well,
Um,
we have mothers who are at different places in their journey. So there may be
yeah,
some mothers with younger children, and when they have emote or have really big emotions,
yeah,
for some mothers, that may be a completely new terrain. So
yeah.
we want to know, how did you navigate those?
So I just one of the main frustrations that Randon would have when he would get what we call a breakdown
Hmm.
is when he couldn't communicate how he was feeling or what was going on in his mind. And when he can't communicate, he wants me to be the communicator in a sense that I'm supposed to know exactly what he is thinking that he's trying to tell me. And so that used to be very frustrating because number one, I could not remember. Number two, I don't even know what you're talking about because not all the time he can have the words together to string together to get me to understand what it is.
Okay.
So I used to be super sad, like I can't help my baby in these moments. Um, what can I do? So at first I would just sit there and I would just tell I'm trying and try to ask for like keywords or just keep asking. Then I would go to holding him and like, you know what, you just got to get this out. Let me comfort you. And sometimes that will work. As he got older, we tried the take a deep breath, take 10 deep breaths. But it was times where me and him both was crying.
Hmm.
He crying because he frustrated or he's having a breakdown and he can't communicate, and I'm crying because I can't help him.
Right.
And I felt so bad, but I said, "Look, this is your mother, and at this moment, I'm not sure how I can help you. So I'm just as upset as you are, and I'm trying to help you, and you're just gonna have to give mommy some grace because right now she's crying and I can't, I'm trying to pull it together and I can't." And then I used to, when he was calm from his breakdown, like go cry where he can't see me,
Mm. Yeah.
um, to release it.
Mm.
But sometimes I couldn't hold it, and in that moment we both just crying.
I understand. One of the things I used to tell Ricky too, because you don't know what you don't know. And
Hmm.
he's my first and my only child. So I would tell him sometimes, even though I knew he didn't understand me, I would say, baby, we in this together. I've been a mama as long as you've been a child. Like I don't have not now. I can offer words of wisdom. I've been in this game for 17 plus years. But when he was 5, and I'd only been a mom for 5
Yeah,
years. And so that's one of the things that I do believe that moms, especially mothers of children on the autism spectrum, it's healthy to give yourself grace, but it's
yeah.
also healthy to have emotions with your children because now Ricky too can read my emotions like a book.
Oh,
With because I would read and Google again, scaring me. They won't be able to read emotions and they won't be able
yeah,
to engage with people. So I would try to show them what a happy face looked like and what a sad face and what a mad face. And I would do all those things. While I do believe that they worked, one of the things that I believe really worked for him was seeing my entire range of emotions through real life situations. I remember one time we were at a go-kart track, and he was talking to a young lady, and the woman was not being very kind to him. She was annoyed. And so and one thing I will do now, and confidently I teach him real time. And so I said, friend, she does not want to talk to you. That look on her face, that's annoyance.
that's
That means to be bothered. So fast forward like a week or two later, I'm like working on something and he comes downstairs and he's like, Mom, such and such a, and I must have said, and looked at him, he says, wait, are you annoyed? And I said, well, actually, I am. With that, I'm mom, so I don't count. Even if I'm doing something, you can always interrupt me. But I learned that showing him real emotions really worked for my son and me. So now, as our relationship is growing, because we have more of a, he's not my friend, but he is my friend because he's a emerging adult and he has his own complexity of thought. He recognizes my feelings. And so, as his mom, because he is not having the typical like teenage relationships and girlfriends and such, I do feel as though I'm preparing him for engagement with a significant other later. But like when he has a wife or a partner, he'll be able to understand. He'll have that emotional intelligence. They're like, wait a minute, my mom's crying, she's sad. My mom's laughing, she's happy, or she's
Mhm.
feeling silly right now. So he could be able to identify that. So I think it's very important for us to show our emotions without, because we have too many in this journey to hide them all in the closet. You've been
Yes,
all day.
yes. And I was hiding, and then I just said I couldn't escape, so I had to show. I had to show him I couldn't escape, and so um, I think one of the things you kind of touched on was about showing yourself grace,
Hmm.
and those early years, I did not show myself grace.
Mm.
I just started showing myself grace since the Mama Bear Club. And then what was that been? About 2 years, a year and a half.
It's been about a year and a half. Yeah.
That's when I started showing myself grace, to be honest, because
Really?
yeah, I was not, because I felt like I was always supposed, when you're on social media, when
Mhm.
you are with other friends or children, you feel like my child should be doing this, my child should be doing that. And it took a long time for me to just say, you know what, this is where my child is. This is what he could do. These are his interests. I'm just gonna pour into that. If this, what we're into now, then that's what we into now. And I'm gonna pour into that, and that's what's gonna happen. But I didn't have anybody that besides my stepson's mother who went on this journey. So I had no like personal help. So I'm
Mhm.
just figuring this stuff out day by day, making up my own, strategies, and working with kind of the therapist, trying to work with the school. The one kind of thing is that when he's at school, he's perfection. That's one of his
Right.
personalities, is when he is out in public, when he is at school, you won't get no behavior. You won't get, he is wants to follow the rules. He is, the perfect student. But coming home, then he can kind of take that mask off, and he, 100% himself.
So you getting the real deal Holyfield, huh?
He is 100% himself when he is at home, which is good, right?
Right.
And so I just had to make up, especially those early years, just was making it up as I go. Oh, this don't work. Okay, we go try this. This don't work. All right, let's try this. Just because I said I could not go online, because
Mm.
I just did not want to go down that path, because I just did not feel like it was going to help me. I
Right.
thought it was going to cause more damage than good. So I would not go online. I did not.
So what about online bothered you?
From the diagnosis, and that was just a trauma from when I went online for the, and then it's so much information.
Right.
I was so overwhelmed with information. Um and I felt like it was just too much, because I just needed to get to know my child and see
Right.
what he needed. And so
Right.
I just felt like going online was not going to give me the answers that I needed, especially at that time, especially at the younger time. Now, I wish the support that I have now, if I had that at the diagnosis, oh my goodness, so much information. Good
And just
information.
to clarify, Ronyelle's talking about a support group that I established some time ago called the Mama Bear Village. And so with that, we used to meet weekly, and now it's as needed. So she's saying that she has a village of people that she can actually, real life people that she can talk to about real life situations, real time.
Yes, immediately. Text, hey, this is what's going on. Same. I'm supporting for them. They're supporting me. I don't feel alone in the mothering of a child who has autism, but I was very much so alone um, in the early years. And then I became like a resource for others. Oh, such and such as child was diagnosed. Reach out to Ronyelle. I'm like, I'm no expert, but okay, I will tell you what I've been doing. And so I've been help to others and
Right.
support to others, but not getting the support to me. And I love helping people. But at that time, I was not getting the support that I was giving out.
Right. I love that you the insight that you offered to women who are, starting in their journeys, to give yourself grace. Because I that's something I live by. You don't know what you don't know. And when you know more, you'll do better.
Mhm.
Or when you know differently, you'll do differently. But in that beginning stages, really give yourself grace. Now, that's something that you offered to other mothers at the beginning of their journey. If you could go back in time and whisper in your own ear at the beginning of your journey, what would you tell yourself?
You're going to do the best you can. You have the tools to do the best you can, and it really is going to be okay. And stick to where he is now. Because when I first got diagnosed, I was like, what he gonna do for high school? What he gonna do for college? How is he gonna live and maintain an adulthood? He was 4. Like I had went to this child's life is gonna be so terrible in high school. Because then I was thinking, oh, kids are gonna bully him. Like I just went, you go off the rails. You go off the rails. And the one, it took me some time. But what I tell other mothers is stick to the time that is right now. Do not be looking 4 or 5 years. Pour into him or her right now and stick to this time. Worry about the next year. You don't need to worry about 5 years from now. In the sense of so worried that you can't rest
Right.
and that you can't even enjoy the time of the
Mhm.
child right now at the age that they are.
Right.
And so one of my friends told me when I had him as a baby, enjoy every stage.
Mm.
Before he was diagnosed, she would always say, enjoy every stage because
Yeah,
it's going to go by quick and it's going to be different.
it is.
And that's what I tell others. And that's what kind of brought me out of the fear for what was going to happen 15 years from the diagnosis. But
Right. But they do have a saying that says, um, the days are long, but the years are short.
very,
You're in it when someone's having a meltdown, or there's some big emotions, or you're, advocating for something that you feel like no one's seeing you eye to eye. It feels like forever.
it
But
does.
when you get to the other side, you're like, man, it was gone in a flash. He'll never be 5 again. He'll never be 7 again. He'll never be 10 again. He'll never be 12 again. So we really do have to enjoy each of those years. Now, with that, what is what are some of the beauties that you've discovered in this unique mothering journey?
Um, hmm. What are some things that I discovered? I have more patience than I thought.
Wow.
Um, and I am not a patient person, but with him, I am patient. And so he gets all my patience. So I have very little for others.
Yeah, I gave it all to Randon. You don't get nothing.
He gets it all. And I have never been a patient person. But I have to have patience. There's just in every step of the way, even now at 13, I have to have patience with him. And sometimes I have to gather myself because I need to check myself first before I respond. But patience.
I love that. I love how you said, I have to check myself first before I respond. I want to sit in that for a second because we are all human and we all come with unconscious and implicit biases and belief systems that we've had since childhood. I like to call those our default settings, our factory settings. And then from there, we get software that we put on top, to help us make better decisions than we would with just the factory settings that we have. With that, no one, and I repeat, no one, to include your child, other people, can police your thoughts. If in your brain you are feeling something, you are entitled to feel that. You feel that in that moment. Now, with that, because we have this software, when it filters through your brain and out your mouth into your child, it comes out in a way that pours life into your child. But if you are feeling something or thinking something, you can't pretend like it's not there. You don't have to act on it in the moment, but don't feel like you are a bad person for feeling it or for thinking it, because you were a whole person before you became a mother with a whole group of thoughts and characteristics. And those things will evolve to meet the needs of your child, but they're not going to change overnight. So if you find yourself not being patient, and not necessarily talking to you, Ronyelle, but for a mother who may be listening, it's okay if you're not patient right now. We want you to grow to that. You're not going to just have a child with autism and all of a sudden you got a cape and you got
Oh
tights,
yeah, no.
you're flying through the sky, super mom. Give yourself time. In addition to that, grace, give yourself time. Give yourself time to learn. Surround yourself around people who uplift you, who tell you that it's okay, and people who are going to pull your coattail to new information that will help you navigate this journey more easily. Boom, I feel like I was in your class, Ronyelle. So with that, do you have any closing thoughts for us, or something you just say, like, you know what, if someone knew this earlier, this would have helped me, or this is something I didn't know and I want someone else to know, or I got this moment, I need to say this to mothers of child on the autism spectrum?
It's in the same realm of grace and time. You once you get the diagnosis, I'm not the same parent I was once I got the diagnosis. I have evolved, I have changed, I have met my son where he is. I parent different, meeting him as where he is. Um, but I feel like the oh, I lost my thought. Time, grace, patience. Oh, that's what I was gonna go into, patience. I didn't start off with all the patience. I had to work my way up
Boom.
to being as patient as I am. Um, and I just think that just taking it one step at a time,
Boom.
baby steps, and you will thrive, and your child will thrive if you just take it at little bites at a time.
I love it, friends. Little bites at a time. We have 22 plus years to parent. Little bites at a time. Rome was not built in a day, and Supermom was not created overnight. And we don't even want to be Supermom. We want to be relaxed, happy, healthy, whole mamas, loving on our babies. The
Oh, I'm
best.
sorry. That was the last thing. I'm sorry. I
Okay.
forgot to add.
Oh, give it to me, girl.
Perfection. Let that go.
Oh, Lord.
That was the last piece. Letting that being the perfect parent, having the perfect house or apartment, let that go. If your child wants to, wear mismatch, pajamas, let them wear mismatched pajamas if that makes them happy. If they hate wearing jeans, don't put the child in jeans. Let the child wear jogging pants. And wherever they go, like release the perfection, release the where you want other people to see you in this kind of way. I'm
Right.
losing the word, but let them be who they are in whatever way they are going to be.
And not only are you letting them be who they are, it makes life easier for you. Some battles you just you don't need to, you don't want to win the battle and lose the war. And right now we're trying to build emotionally healthy children. Ricky too has gotten to the door and I was like, hey, you have on one red shoe and one blue shoe, friend. He's like, I know. I'm like, okay. Look, look, that's your partner. I don't even say anything. I just leave. He's like, I meant to do it like that. There you go. And that's then how much like you, I'm a much different mother than I thought. I'd be, oh no, we're gonna be everything's gonna be just so. Now I'm like, my child's had a blue mohawk, a green mohawk, a rainbow mohawk. He has locks now, like he's had green hair. I don't care. I'm like, just hey,
Yes.
just
It's
respect yourself.
It's not worth it. It's just not.
It's not. With that, we are going to close out our evening. You've given so many great nuggets, and moms, I hope you're going to put the things that Ronyelle has said in your pockets. Also, you are more than welcome to put comments in the comment section when you watch the video or ask questions, and I'll make sure that I check them periodically to get your questions answered. Ronyelle, I just adore you.
You too. You're my fave.
You're my fave too. So thank you so much for spending time with me, the moms and the allies, and letting individuals know that you are not alone. You are not alone. That's why instead of you having to go to Google, we wanted you to be able to pull up videos with real moms going through things in real time so you can see that this is doable. You're going to be okay. And your babies going to have the opportunity to maximize their personal potential, one baby step at a time. Boom, bang, pow.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Bye, friends.
Bye.